David, I believe, is on the line, right? David Heurtel, who joins us typically on, I guess it's on Monday afternoons. David, thank you for being here today.
Great to be with you.
Check your bingo card. When did you have from your Legault stepping down?
Well, in my mind, he was going to step down at the beginning of this year. I thought his play, and we had talked about this. He had one last Hail Mary, which was the fall, the entire fall game plan, starting with the cabinet shuffle, the inaugural speech, his war against the doctors, his war against unions, a new Quebec constitution, going full throttle right against immigrants, playing the identity politics card. And the thing is that the polling at the end of all this didn't even show an uptick. It actually showed a downtick. He is more unpopular today than he was in August.
Yeah.
And so he was heading for complete obliteration. There is not one single poll that actually gave him any chance of even winning 5 seats in the October 5th election. So I think ultimately it was a battle between him and his ego, and finally rationality ultimately won out.
They often say, David, in politics, you've heard leaders say, we don't pay attention to polls. We don't pay attention. We know that's a lie, but that's what they say anyway. But with respect to polls, they've gone from bad to worse. And then we had one come out yesterday, or I guess today, the Palace data poll, right? Putting the PQ basically dead last, tied with Quebec Solidaire. Now, I know he didn't write his speech up today, so that didn't necessarily have anything to do with this. I would ask what you think. Was there a straw that broke the camel's back here, do you think?
Well, I mean, let's face it. I don't think it was the Palace poll that did it. I think the decision was made in the last few days. I really think ultimately that he saw the writing on the wall with the ultimate results of the last few polls at the end of the year. There was just nothing there that showed any type of hope. He has, think about this, Aaron, when you talk about unfavorables, first of all, this is an administration that's polled more than any previous administrations. I mean, seriously, they were obsessed with polling throughout the pandemic, and since then, I mean, they were polling constantly. So forget about not being concerned with the polls. But the also major thing about François Legault is that concerning his favorable unfavorables, because that's what you look at primarily when you're looking at maybe is there some hope for me moving forward. He was in the 70s in terms of unfavorables. This is worse than Jean Charest had his worst. Philippe Couillard never even came close to that in the worst of 2018. Neither did Podimao. Even Justin Trudeau, in the worst of the worst at the end of 2024, was not even close to being at 75% unfavorables. And it got to a point that François Legault was actually doing worse in the polling than the CAQ. And so it was personal. Quebecers were done with François Legault. They may not be necessarily done with the CAQ. We'll see. But they are done with François Legault as their premier and with him being involved in active politics.
Well, so let's talk about the future. And I realize it's early. This only happened today. François Legault was the CAQ. His party. He founded it. He steered it. Now he's gone. Do you basically have a rudderless ship here now?
Well, first of all, it's not like this party was gearing up for a leadership race. I mean, first of all, just the rules, just the basic, there's nothing. And the party itself, as you said, I mean, François Legault founded this party in his living room with 4 or 5 other guys. And the idea now is that we're looking at maybe this could take up to 6 months, just gearing up. And who's going to stay within the party? I mean, and François Legault mentioned two people in the organization in his speech, Martin Koskinen, his chief of staff, and Brigitte Legault, who is the organizer in the party, who's been with him since basically the beginning. Now, will Brigitte Legault, who organized the last two election campaigns, will she stick around for a leadership campaign and a third campaign? That's a big question, because you're going to need people to organize this leadership campaign. This is not a party that has a lot of members, a lot of grassroots. And so it's going to be very interesting to see. But I think now the Premier Legault, is going to be thinking about legacy. He mentioned Churchill Falls. The big Churchill Falls deals with Newfoundland and Labrador is not set. This new conservative government in Newfoundland and Labrador is reopening the deal that was set with the previous Liberal government. So that's going to have to be a big piece of his legacy shopping. And he's going to most definitely going to want to have a say in who succeeds him. And so that's going to be interesting to follow as well.
So I read you the statement, and as I said, these are the kinds of things you'd expect to hear from other political leaders today. Yeah. So to whose advantage, if I can use that sort of frame, does this play into best? I mean, the PQ is still ahead in the polls. What does this do to them? How does this change what they do going forward, do you think?
Well, for the PQ, it's an opportunity to actually, depending on who the CAQ chooses. Remember, the CAQ, they have former sovereignists, like, for example, a Simon Jolin Barrette or a Bernard Drainville as a potential leadership candidate. But they have also federalists, Geneviève Guilbeault and Sonia Lebel. Also, I should say Christine Fréchette, who's a former sovereignist. Remember, right. She was a Jean-François Lisée staffer when he was a PQ minister. So if you have like a former openly sovereignist leader, former sovereignist leader of the CAQ, that keeps those votes in the CAQ. That prevents those former PQ voters from maybe crossing over, the people that are still with the CAQ. But imagine if you had a federalist leader like a Geneviève Guilbeault or a Sonia Lebel. That could actually mean an opportunity for the PQ to try to peel away those final former sovereignist votes and bring them back to the PQ.
And what about if you take into account, we've been talking, of course, about Charles Milliard. That's really been the big provincial story. Good day for him today?
Huge day. This is massive because I don't know if you noticed, when François Legault was, and I think we did talk about this, when François Legault when François Legault saw the Pablo Rodriguez problems and did his year-end interviews, even before Pablo resigned, but he picked it up a notch after Pablo resigned. His main message was, if you want to prevent a referendum, vote for me. I'm going to be the one that's going to be able to prevent a referendum. Because remember, still to this day, all the same polls that show Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon and the PQ leading are polls saying that around 60% of Quebecers, that includes a majority of Francophones, do not want a referendum.
Right.
And 65% are against independence. So with François Legault off the board, this is an opportunity now for Charles Milliard and the Liberals to firmly establish themselves as the only credible option on two fronts. One, affordability, the economy, and two, no referendum. So I think this is a huge day for Charles Milliard, but he's going to have to move. He can't be reactive. He's going to have to be proactive right away. He does not have time to take it slow and just do a normal leadership race if there is one.
David Heurtel, former Quebec Liberal cabinet minister, his analysis on the news from earlier today. You may have missed the news. You might have been at work all day. François Legault, 11 o'clock this morning, press conference announcing he is resigning, stepping down as leader of the CAQ and basically as premier as well, but he will stay on until such time as there is someone announced to replace him. David, if you were going to be a betting man, for example, one person, who is that person to replace him? Who do you think?
I think right now, today, I would put my money on Christine Fréchette.
All right. You were duly noted. Start a little pool here for who's going to be next.
I'm Luke Wilson. Join me each week for Film Never Lies. Since retiring from the NFL, I've had a lot on my mind, and now got my own show. So if you're tired of lazy takes, if you want honest conversations, join us each week. Film Never Lies, available on all TSN platforms and the iHeartRadio app.